What's up, YouTube? It's Kenny again. Stopped here in Missouri for my little 30-minute break and thought I'd make a video. And I made a similar video before, but I want to do it again, and who knows, I might even do it again in the future. So if you're just finding this channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to build a community here, and if you're new and you want to watch this whole journey, you should get in now. All right, so I wanted to do a little video just to talk about like my backstory and you know what led me to this place that I am now, where you know I've gone through this transition of you know how I'm going to end up in retirement and stuff like that. And I wanted to kind of go back and talk about like what got me here, what the circumstances are that put me where I am now. So again, hit that subscribe button, guys. So about 25 years ago ish, I got my commercial driver's license, and I have pretty much made a living off of driving ever since in one capacity or another. All right, I did over-the-road trucking. I transitioned. I delivered pizzas just in a regular vehicle for a while when my kid was a baby. You know, I drove over the road, and I came back off the road when my kid was a baby, and I delivered pizzas for a while, and then I transitioned to driving concrete mixers, and then I transitioned to operating concrete pumps, the ones with the big boom arm that you use a remote control that you see on the side of the freeway and stuff. And I was bounced back and forth between concrete mixers and concrete pumps for a long period of time. And in 2009, the company I was working for went out of business during that whole crash of the housing market and stuff, and I couldn't find a job. So I ended up being homeless for a short period of time, living in my minivan. I had been staying with my sister, and circumstances happened between me and my parents, and I ended up living in my van for a short period. It was a short period of time, couple months, and then I eventually was able to get on just as a person unloading trucks and stocking shelves at a JCPenney that I did for, I don't know, not very long, less than a year, until finally some of the applications that I had panned out when things started to pick up, and got back into driving a concrete mixer. And then again, I bounced back and forth between mixers and pumps. And so, you know, that's just a very brief thing that brings me to about, you know, 6 years ago ish. So there was a long period that's dead in there, that I was in a relationship for about 8 years, and we lived together and everything, and that started to kind of go sour those last couple of years. And at least partially it had to do with my health. Okay, now, I'm not saying that was the only factor in it, but so at a certain point, doing concrete mixers and running concrete pumps and stuff, I started to have a really hard time with the heat. I started having a really hard time being out in the heat all the time, and you know, I felt like something was wrong with with me health wise, and I just kind of, you know, chalked it up to me getting older and stuff. I was, you know, what, 40 something, 42 or something at that time, and ended up like I fought through that for quite some time. Didn't really talk to anybody about it, and at a certain point, something happened, and I told him to fuck off and quit. It was the type of thing where this boss on this job site, I was operating a concrete pump at the time, and this boss on the job site was talking to me like I'm a dog or something, And I just said, fuck you, and left him stranded. And I called him, and the company, usually those companies like back you up. You basically run shit when you go onto a job site. But this time, the company was kind of telling me to do what he wanted, even though it was like super unreasonable. And I was just done. And, and I left those dudes high and dry. I mean, they had concrete trucks showing up, starting to line up. And I just packed my pump up and left them. And I don't know how they ever poured that thing, but I won't go too deep into it. But so I quit that job. All right. And during this time, I was in that relationship I was talking about. We had probably been together for about 5 years at that point. And so then I started driving Uber. It was something that I could do that was, low impact as far as like being in the heat and doing the kind of stuff that I'd been doing for years, that I honestly felt like I couldn't handle it anymore. And I didn't want to voice that, being a man and I'm supposed to be big and strong and tough. I didn't really want to voice the fact that, while it was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back that made me quit that job, that I really didn't want to go back to it because I was having a real hard time, doing the job. Anyway, so I did Uber for, really heavy for about a year. And then, at the time, the girl that I was with, like, she made really good money, and we didn't really need my income. But so I started driving less, and then there was friction in the relationship because of that. And shortly thereafter, it was about 5 years ago, maybe a little longer, I had some issues with my ankle swelling up real big. And it went away, and then it happened another time, and I went to the emergency room, and they misdiagnosed, maybe not, I don't know. They said I had something that didn't seem realistic. And anyway, that was a scare for me, and that scare like put me on a tear of researching. And although I don't think that thing with my ankle was related, after that I started having these pains in my legs and stuff, in my lower legs and my feet. And that led me to discover that I had type 2 diabetes. So during that time, the relationship had been pretty rough. And I was really kind of on the inside, really freaking out about all of it, about the relationship stuff and the health stuff, and there were some other things going on. I was living a very sedentary lifestyle at the time. I was working around the house and stuff, but I wasn't working much. I was freaking out about my health, and it was fucking with me mentally, Anyway, so we ended up deciding to split up. Okay, it was really her decision, not so much mine. And that was about 4.5 years ago. And at that time, I did not feel like I could go back to running in the concrete world. And that was, really the only thing that I could do to make a living was drive, use my CDL. So since we were going to split up, and I didn't really have much of an option, I said, well, let me stay here and I'll take a refresher course and go back on the road. And so that's what I did. And so that put me in the situation that I'm in now. And I've been with this same company ever since. And, I went through a long period of being really depressed. A lot of things, that breakup fucked a lot of things up for me. I really thought that was like forever, and that, I loved her and her daughter, and my son lived with us. And, when all this happened, my son had to go live with his mom, which was a pretty horrible situation overall. And anyway, so, and then on top of that, I was just, I felt like I lost my family. So being on this road and like isolated really exacerbated that, because I didn't have anybody to really, interface with, nothing to keep me from thinking about it. So I just rolled around for those first, for that first year and a half, just depressed about the whole thing. I couldn't get it out of my head, etc., etc. Now, during that period of time, I kind of had this moment where I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, I have made no preparations for my future. I thought that everything was going to be good with my relationship and stuff for the rest of my life. And now all of a sudden, here I am, 43, however old I was, 44, and I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do, And so it's sent me into this spiral of trying to figure out how I was going to eke out some type of a retirement or an existence that gets me out of this situation that I'm in this truck. And it's not that I hate my job, but because I really don't. I like the company I work for. I've adjusted to the solitude and stuff, but I like people. Like, I like social stuff, and I'm a member of this fraternal organization. I don't get to go interface with them. The pandemic made it even worse because there wasn't stuff going on when I went back home. And so I like social interaction, and being gone 6 weeks by myself, I don't get that like I want it. You know what I mean? So anyway, I wanted to figure out a way to eke out some kind of a retirement, some kind of a pathway to come off the road eventually. Because otherwise, I'm just basically stuck out here until I can start drawing Social Security. And even still, that's not going to be enough to really have any kind of a meaningful existence with. So that started getting me involved. I started doing tons of research about retirement and stuff like that, and that got me involved in investing in the stock market. And at the time, that was what I viewed as my pathway to eventually have some kind of a retirement. But the more and more I thought about it, the more I realized that I don't have enough time to save and invest, and unless I was to hit some big ass stock boom or something, like, I don't have the kind of time that it takes to build up some retirement that's going to do something real for me, And I lost quite a bit of money in a couple of investments there over the last couple of years, because when I started investing in the stock market, was during a time period where stocks were just going nuts because of all the stimulus and quantitative easing and all this stuff that had been going on. And so I was like, oh, well, this is great. But then now, over these last couple of years, things have come back to reality. And although I had told myself I would adjust, I knew that was going to be coming. I made a couple of bad decisions, and now, I'm significantly down in my portfolios. Now, that doesn't mean that I've given up on investing and stuff. It just means that, the pathway to getting out of this truck became less clear and less sure. Like, it started looking like, hey, I might have to do this for 25 years before I have enough money to do anything significant. And by that time, I may not make it that long. I most likely won't make it that long. So, I started doing a lot of research about, I stumbled on, and I'd already heard of VANLIFE, but I stumbled on VANLIFE first. And then I started finding this stuff about nomadic living, and these people who had RVs and built out cargo trailers or travel trailers with solar, and would go out and stay on Bureau of Land Management land for free, and just like kind of stay 2 weeks, move, stay somewhere else 2 weeks, move, stay somewhere else 2 weeks, and travel and see nature and, you know, just live super cheap. And that was really appealing to me. Then somewhere in there, I don't know if it was before or in the middle, I stumbled on these people who they buy cheap land out in Arizona in the desert, and they do a homestead. And like, I really was focused on that for quite some time, that I was going, goddamn, buy me a piece of land in Arizona and do a whole solar rain catchment. I had it all figured out, and build me a little tiny home and do that whole thing. Well, then I started really thinking about that, and like, do I really want to do that much, like farming and all that kind of shit, you know, to try to have an existence out there? And I really don't, you know what I mean? And so that pushed me back toward RVs and cargo trailers, and ultimately I was really fixated on cargo trailers, and because you can buy I was just actually doing over the last couple of days some more research about this subject, because the van thing is more expensive. Like, I could go buy a cargo trailer, like when I hit that $15,000 mark that we've been talking about, I could go buy a brand new cargo trailer and do all the solar for that $15,000. Whereas $15,000 just going to get me the van. It don't even get me the solar, you know. And it's possible I may have to go over the 15 grand to do the van. So I was starting to kind of slip there for a minute and be like, man, this cargo trailer thing sure is something that would get me going even faster. And, you know, my brain still may go in that direction, but as of right now, I'm still on the van life thing. It's going to be one or the other, all right, but it's probably going to be the van, because I want the freedom to be able to park wherever I want to park and not have a trailer behind me, and it limits where you can park and all that kind of stuff. But there are also big advantages. Number one, you get something brand new that pretty much lasts forever. You can put more solar on it. You can put more stuff inside of it. You can do more with it. And then if you have breakdowns and stuff like that, you just get another truck to tow it with or whatever, you know, and you still got your thing. But whereas with a van, if you got to get a different van, you got to redo everything. So there are advantages to the cargo trailer thing and disadvantages. And I'm kind of weighing that right now. It's weighing on me a little bit, you know. So anyway, that's kind of what got me here, you know what I mean? And this van life thing, or however it manifests, it's most likely going to be a van. It's a way for me to live really on the cheap for a while, so that I could like drive trucks for a year, save up 25 grand or so, and then take a year off and just travel and live in my whatever rig that I come up with, and then, you know, go back, work for it, come back here, work for another year, save up, go take another year off. And, you know, ultimately, who knows, it could blossom into something where I have a Patreon and the YouTube blows up a little bit, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm able to actually support it and just continue doing it. Because there are quite a few people that support themselves by making van life content. And, you know, they have a Patreon. They make special videos for those people. People send them stuff in the mail. They make, you know, I guarantee you they're making quite a bit of money at the level some of those channels are at just off of YouTube, you know. Not to mention sponsorships and Patreons and all that kind of stuff. So there's a possibility that it could blossom into something like that. Now, I'm not counting on that, but it is a possibility of something that could happen. People seem to react favorably to content that I create on YouTube once they find it and stuff. People like the way that I don't know, the way I'm real and I just talk to them, and I'm not like, I don't know. I guess I just don't seem fake to people, which I'm not, you know. So there's a possibility that it could catch on, and we'll see if that ever comes to fruition. If it doesn't, the plan still remains that I can do this, and if I was to cut my bills down even more and scrimp and save even more, like, guys, I could save a lot of fucking money in a year if I really bared down on it, you know. So, and that brings us to now. So, and I'm sure I left a bunch of stuff out, but, you know, basically lost a relationship, ended up forced to come back on the road, and had some freak out moments, and have spent this last 4 years pretty much like trying to figure out a direction that makes me happy. And this is where I've landed. I appreciate all you guys that have been watching, all of you guys that have come over from my other channel or from Facebook and stuff like that, and also those of you who have been on this channel for stock investing and have stuck around. I appreciate all of you guys, and I appreciate people wanting to follow me on this journey and wanting to being interested in, you know, what I'm going to do and what's going to make me happy. And hopefully you guys will stick around and keep supporting it and help me to make it grow, and help me to help myself have some kind of a fun, meaningful existence moving forward. I should probably get out of here. My 30-minute break is up, and thank you for watching. And if anybody stumbled across this and watched it all the way to the end, please hit that subscribe button for me. Follow me on this journey. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, maybe even learn something along the way. I'll see you on the next one.